Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, How Dynamic Targeting Through AI Will Revolutionize Your Field Force. My name is Laura Beth Azell, and I will be your host for today's webinar. I am pleased that you could join us. Before we begin, we would like to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen are multiple application widgets you can use. All the widgets are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to get the most out of your desktop space. Please note that the slides will advance automatically throughout the presentation. To enlarge the slides, click the Enlarge Slides button located in the top right-hand corner of your presentation window. We will also have a few poll questions throughout. Now, when this poll question appears, please take a moment to answer them so that we can make sure your vote is included in the total. Should you need technical assistance, click on the Help widget that's located on the bottom of your console. Now, we encourage you to submit questions at any time throughout the presentation using the Q&A widget. Now, we will try to answer these during the webcast, but if a fuller answer is needed or we run out of time, it will be answered later via email. So please know that we do capture all of your questions. Now, many items discussed today and additional help materials are available in the resource list. Now, we encourage you to download any resources or links that you may find useful. Lastly, following the presentation, you will be able to answer the on-demand recording of the webinar using the same link from today's live event. Today, I am pleased to be joined by two industry leaders from ZS, a professional services firm that works side by side with companies to help develop and deliver products that drive customer value and company results through leading-edge analytics, technology, and strategy to create solutions that work in the real world. Now, Jen Baltzell, principal at ZS. Jen is a leader of ZS's commercial model design and operations practice and works with the immersive experience team to enhance customer-centric marketing offerings. Jen has more than 20 years of experience working in pharmaceutical sales and marketing, both as a consultant and in industry. At ZS, she works with pharmaceutical companies on large-scale programs aimed at transforming their commercial capabilities. Maria Kliachko, Principal Verso Product Lead. Maria is the product lead for ZS's Verso Intelligent Commercial Execution software. Now, she is also an analytics advisor for med device and life sciences companies. Maria has more than 20 years of experience working with pharmaceutical, medical device, and healthcare companies. At ZS, she leads the integrated analytics advisory area, focusing on life sciences clients and helping them to establish and advance their analytics capabilities. So as you can see, it is a pleasure to have both on today's webinar. And I'd like to hand it over to Jen to help us set the stage and provide an overview of the agenda for today's discussion.
Thank you so much. Over the course of this webinar today, Maria and I plan to take you on a road trip, if you will, looking back at where we have been from a call planning perspective, looking forward to what we believe is the next evolution of call planning, called dynamic targeting, how to succeed as you revolutionize your call planning processes. We'll also provide you with a quick demo so that you can really kind of see it, touch it from that perspective, and then we'll open the webinar up for a Q&A session at the very end. So, we really believe that we're at a crossroads when you think about how we as an industry approach call planning today versus what is possible. So if you think about the volume and velocity of data that we have available now, it would have been unimaginable 10 years ago. So in addition to our standard prescription data, we now have claims data or patient-level data that allows us to do things like analyze patient journeys over time to predict when a patient is going to switch treatments, or when a doctor is likely to consider leveraging a recently launched medication. data feeds have also gone from monthly to weekly or even daily when you think about our customers' interactions with non-personal promotional channels. So the speed at which we get data is very much increased from what we have seen previously. And it's not just the volume and velocity of data that has changed. We now have technology that can store and process gigabytes worth of data in minutes and seconds as opposed to days and weeks. The data and infrastructure really create a foundation for us that allows us to run complex algorithms to identify programmatically what promotional journeys or sequences work best for a specific customer, or understand a customer's channel and content preferences to engage with them on their terms. There's just so much that we can do with the data that we have and the technology that we now have available over the course of the last decade. With these changes, we believe there is an ever-increasing need for call planning and targeting capabilities to become more agile and customer-centric. Using traditional call planning to drive customer engagement is a bit like using a road atlas to decide which highways you want to take on a road trip. If you think about call planning as it currently stands today, call plans are created 2 to 4 times a year. Optimization is based on segment-level response curves, not individual prescriber specifics. We start 2 to 3 months before when the call plans will go live because it's such a heavy manual process. And that means that the call plan is outdated before the reps even see it. Not only that, but customer interaction is planned only for the rep channel and in silos from other channels. So there's no ability to really multiply the impact of what you're doing non-personal and personal because you're looking at it one channel at a time. With dynamic targeting, you're moving call planning from a road atlas to a GPS navigation software. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is you're getting real-time updates based on market events and changing brand strategies. So no longer is your rep getting just a quarterly or a semesterly call plan, but they're getting something even every week that helps them make decisions in the moment. They get individualized plans based on individual preferences and local healthcare market differences. The call plan itself is automated via artificial intelligence based on all of the data sets that are available to you, not just your traditional RX data, but your patient data, if you have it, your non-personal promotional data, all of that data is accessible to you to leverage on a weekly basis. You have a sophisticated user interface that really allows reps to become more productive as they no longer need to search through multiple channels of data from reports, call planning, data, other like sheets or emails that they're getting to try and figure out what should they do in any given week. And not only that, but reps are empowered to pick the suggestions that are going to work best for them and their customers in each specific situation. And that feedback that they provide goes back into the algorithm to make the next week's suggestions even better for that customer and for that rep. So what do we mean when we say dynamic targeting? A big part of a rep's job is to ensure that they are optimizing their time in the field each week. That means talking to the right customers at the right time about the right messages. Instead of referring to a predefined quarterly call plan, dynamic targeting really enables reps to leverage advanced data science, artificial intelligence, and machine learning to enhance their customer engagement and ultimately the patient experience. What we mean by that is, we lead with insights first to really help reps decide who they want to talk to. We leverage augmented analytics to allow users to modify their daily routine with just-in-time, context-aware, relevant insights around when should I target them this week, right? What's happening with the office? What are their accessible, day and time for a given individual? The embedded intelligence within dynamic targeting continuously learns from a feedback loop of user inputs, so those rep user inputs, and all of the new data that is coming into the system and being generated within the system around why should I target a given customer now. And it also provides them with actionable insights around how should I target them. Should it be face-to-face? Should it be virtual, given the situation in the local market area, especially right now, as we start to enter the fall season and start thinking about COVID and other types of local market situations. Upgrading to dynamic targeting will offer you an immediate competitive advantage by increasing sales force effectiveness. But events like brand launch, changing physical and market access fast tracks the value you can achieve from implementing dynamic targeting. So what do I mean about that? So if we think about changes in customers' accessibility, a situation like COVID-19 led to constant changes in customer accessibility. Clients that had implemented a more dynamic approach to targeting were able to add COVID-related insights to detect doctors practicing telemedicine and open to Zoom calls on a weekly basis, right? So we were able to update things weekly as opposed to a quarterly call plan, which by the time you get the new quarter call plan out, everything has already changed from an access perspective. If you think a little bit about brand launch, whether you're launching a new brand yourself or working on protecting your brand from a competitor's launch, being able to pivot on a week-by-week basis as more information comes in from your customers is critical to gaining true competitive advantage. For example, rider lookalike analysis could help you identify doctors who are similar to recent adopters of your competitor's new launch product, and thus those may be doctors you want to suggest to reps that they should increase their focus on, even in the middle of the quarter. So not wait until the start of the next quarter to try and retrospectively fix the problem that has been created. In the past, healthcare markets in the U.S. were fairly homogenous as well, as doctors were primary decision makers. Today, there's increased heterogeneity across markets due to multiple stakeholders with varying power dynamics. Boston, with its strong institutional networks, looks very different than Atlanta, or other areas with more HCP power and control. Dynamic targeting really allows you to move from that national one-size-fits-all call planning to a customized approach, optimizing across multiple variables to better fit each rep's local situation. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, dynamic targeting really does help you create a rich, orchestrated experience for your key customers. No longer are you just asking a rep to make 3 calls on a key customer over the next quarter, but you can leverage all the data you have at your fingertips to suggest to a rep that they should make a face-to-face or a virtual detail this week as a follow-up to a customer's interaction last week with a marketing email on product efficacy. So really make sure that you are coordinating that whole customer experience and engagement process across all the channels that you have at your fingertips. So we are going to move into a quick poll. Where is your organization today? We believe in dynamic targeting and have already started. We believe in dynamic targeting, but we haven't kicked things off yet. We believe in dynamic targeting, but are facing some obstacles in bringing it to life. Or we're not sold on dynamic targeting. Tell me more. We'll take a couple of seconds and let everybody put their response in. Wow, it looks like we have a lot of responses. Thank you so much for taking the time to take our poll today. And with that, I'm going to transition over to Maria, who's going to talk a little bit about what makes dynamic targeting possible.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jen, and thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you now all see how productive and efficient the dynamic targeting can be as compared to the call planning. And now we want to talk a little bit about how do we make it happen. So what makes dynamic targeting possible? For one, it's rich customer data, and we'll talk a little bit about that. It's definitely analytics, and the more advanced it is, the more productive and efficient we can make our resource allocation. It is a superior user experience, and of course, its ability to make the change throughout the organization. So let's talk a little bit about data. So let's start with the data. As Jen said, there used to be only TRX data coming monthly, but now we have lots of sources of data, and it comes much more frequently, in some cases in real time. Not only we're getting customer sales and claims from the typical data provider, but we now often have real-time omni-channel data showing that the customer just opened an email or attended a conference or listened to a webinar. The market data is also much, much more nuanced. Many oncology-focused companies can watch APLD data and predict when doctors make specific patient decisions relevant to their line of therapy. Switches may indicate doctor telehealth activity, even if their office is officially closed for COVID. Specialty pharmacy data may indicate whether the doctor has an unusually large portion of payer declines. And if it does, then maybe we have an opportunity to contact that doctor and help them with reimbursement. Internal data for historical segmentation and primary research results can further help to use the right messaging and the appropriate content with the doctor. And then finally, the field input can capture doctors' attitudes, preferences for face-to-face versus digital, push versus pull, and many other factors. All of this taken together provides an incredibly rich set of info that can help reps to choose timing, content, and the right channel to reach to the doctor to be heard. Relying on a few reports or data points as it used to be is very limiting. And the reps are not positioned to derive all this information and figure out in their head who they need to go to. But relying on this rich multidimensional data can now deliver, that we can now deliver to the reps in real time, can really make reps super effective and know what to say and choose the doctors a lot more wisely. This analytics may be very advanced, but it typically starts with rule-based triggers. Rule-based triggers are very simple if-then statements that say that if the doctor attended a conference and or asked question to the call center, you might want to follow up with a call and address his questions. Or if a doctor market share goes down and this doctor is like other doctors for whom there are some good opportunities to influence their behavior, you might want to follow up and say and give that message. Once the rule-based triggers have been implemented, it typically takes not very much analytical prowess to create it, but about 20-50 triggers can really give the rep opportunity and data that they otherwise would not have and would be very difficult to get from the reports or other sources and decide on their own what to do. After the triggers, we also have a variety of analytical mechanisms to figure out more predictive and prescriptive ways to address the doctors. So for one client, we were able to predict whether the customer is about to switch from your brand to a competitor brand. And providing the rep this information that this doctor is likely to switch could be very valuable and lead to millions of dollars saved in preventing this doctor from switching. There could be other predictive capabilities to figure out what content the doctor likes to use. For example, some doctors open emails that have pictures in them, or human faces, or abstract or various clinical content. It's by analyzing the past doctor activity and past doctor reactions to our content and messaging that we can determine what type of messaging works better to the doctor and makes him more likely to open our message or accept our call. And then finally, it culminates in the very more complex analytical prediction called next best action. It's a way to analyze really all the doctor data, demographic and sales data, all the doctor activity and activity of doctors like him, and predict not only when and what to say to the doctor, but also how to sequence it and what would be the best allocation of the effort by the rep. By creating next best action, that is really a composition of the omni-channel and the dynamic targeting action, we make a real customer-centric experience for the customer and really optimize the effectiveness of our messaging to him. Even if you have the best insights, it is important for the reps to use them. And that is not so easy. Some reps may not trust the insights, others may be difficult to fit into their routine. And if the tool is clunky or time-consuming, the reps will be frustrated and may stop using it altogether. So intuitive and easy-to-use user experience is very key to adoption. Considering this adoption can bring your company millions in the most targeted actions, experience is not something to be skimmed on. In our Versa work, we had more than 200 interviews with the reps and learned that successful reps have very specific patterns of monthly, weekly, and daily planning. The tool needs to match those and provide the information in the form and at the time that is most easy for the reps to digest and make the right decision. More specifically, it needs to be personalized. Different people interact with suggestions differently and have different blind spots. Well-calibrated newsfeed helps to provide the needed information without overload with stuff that the reps already know. They also need to be able to adjust the plans on the spot. Just like the ways that Jen mentioned, if you make a wrong turn, the system must be able to reroute you back to your destination. And it's the same with the dynamic targeting. When the rep does their daily actions, they need to be able to incorporate stuff that they know and the system doesn't, and then still get the help from the system to address those doctors or prioritize some other ones. The good tool also helps reps to collaborate and delegate to each other certain tasks or doctors, or at least know what is happening elsewhere. And then just beyond the tool, it is important for the reps to get plenty of training, guidance, and support. And it really helps to know that our experience shows that the reps who are not very supported in this may adopt these tools at the rate of 30, 40, maybe 50% adoption. But the reps who are well supported and who use the tools that are very intuitive and designed to their processes have very high levels of adoption, sometimes as high as 80 and 90%, which really helps to move the bottom line because at the end of it, the reps, when the reps adopt the tools and they do what's the best, for driving your sales, it really helps everyone. While everyone understands that the reps would need lots of training with such a program, the one piece that often is underappreciated is how much work of sales ops and brand managers change, and the support these groups need to be successful. Traditional call planning is organized into a process in which sales ops receive multiple guidance by brand managers, and once in quarter or maybe semester, create multiple scenarios, reconcile them, and develop this call plan, and then reps go and adjust it. It's typically a project that in some companies runs for months, and in some is more efficient and only runs a couple weeks. But nonetheless, it is a project, and everybody knows their role in this project. Well, in dynamic targeting, it's not a project. Dynamic targeting is on all the time. If brand wants to refocus from, let's say, steady adopters to excited innovators, or has another event that it needs to adjust for, it needs to change the programming on the fly. So it needs to collaborate with commercial ops to reprogram the dynamic targeting to the new objectives, to change the models or to change the triggers, and then see and compare the scenarios, how many of suggestions of each kind happens in the new system versus the old system. So it's a mini project that maybe it has similar content, but it's not as once a quarter kind of big thing that the ops and marketing and brand managers are doing, but it's more of a mini projects that are throughout the work. So the roles of sales ops and the marketing ops change, and the types of tools they use change. And for that, we definitely need to have a good program to make sure that people are excited about that and not scared that they're going to be losing control in the process. So just like any big change management program, it needs to start with creating vision for change, and making sure that both commercial ops and brand managers see what's in it for them, that they can be more effective, more agile, and that they can achieve their goals faster. And then there needs to be joint planning of the change and trying of it, development of the new processes, developing of the new skills, creating pilots and trying on the new process and seeing that it works. And then finally, you need to measure the results and potentially adjust and adapt and have iterative improvement until it really becomes the second nature. But the good thing is that it does bring a very big impact on the sales. And in some cases, we see the sales lift on the test control studies as high as 4 to 8%. And those are big numbers. So one of our clients, for example, adopted the dynamic targeting program. They took their sales, patient data, promotions, and some other sources. They created about 15 algorithms that had that showed created the suggestions for their reps. They developed a tool that was based on the user journey of their reps. Those 200 interviews of the reps really helped to create a path of understanding how the reps plan weekly, monthly, and daily, and what decisions do they make, and what it requires for the tool to really nicely work into their flows. And the change management across the company was also very intense, and in about 4 or 5 months, they went through this change and the pilot and then roll out to national field force. There was a 33% lift in impactable sales from this program. So it was a huge success. Their analytical algorithms were able to identify new writers and generate new switches. And moreover, it was not a burden to the reps, but really delighted the reps. The reps had feedback such as, this app is leading me to places which I would never consider, or I don't know how it predicts, but it definitely says me the things that I need to know. So not only for the company, but for the reps, it was a super successful program. So hopefully you got a little sense of how to develop it, and maybe we want to show you a little bit of our tool that was built for this purpose and that can drive this user experience. And now I'd like to pass it to the product team to show how this tool might work in real life.
Thanks, Maria. As we show you what dynamic targeting looks like in action, I'll be assuming the role of a sales rep. So imagine it's Sunday evening and I'm starting to think about the week ahead. There are several doctors I've had planned well in advance, and I know where I'll be in my territory. But there is an opportunity for me to fine-tune my week in order to see more doctors. I open the app and start by reviewing the insights that have been prioritized for me and my territory. The insights offer me quick sound bites of why they're relevant. I dive deeper into an insight that interests me. I can see more details personalized by the algorithm to this specific HCP and insight combination about why this doctor was suggested, as well as additional evidence to not only make a decision about calling on them, but to start building my story for when I do. Based on the app's suggestion and supporting evidence, I decide to add the doctor to my plan for this week. While I'm doing this, I want to take the opportunity to also progressively build on my plan using the app's geo features. So when I go to actually save the appointment, I'm going to click on Save Plan and View Nearby. I start to browse the map based on where the other appointment is located in my territory. And when I recognize another doctor, I go ahead and I drill down to see why this doctor is relevant to me with the same types of supporting evidence. I go ahead and I decide that I want to add this doctor to my plan as well. Once I'm done doing this, we'll flash forward to Wednesday afternoon. I'm taking a few minutes to prepare for my call before I head into the doctor's office. I revisit my plan to get a refresher on why I'm visiting with key insights and details on the HCP such as writing behavior, other commercial activity, and payer mix. This helps me know what I should focus on when I'm there. The app presents information in a cohesive manner, taking me from a high-level snippet to drilling down into key metrics that help me complete call planning and add more opportunities in just minutes.
So now with all these, do you think your organization is ready to replace call planning with dynamic targeting, evolve call planning with advanced analytics, or just stick with the call planning as it is?
Well, thank you, Maria and Jen. I would like to remind participants to continue to use the Q&A widget. If we don't address your question directly during the webinar, one of our presenters will follow up with you via email after the webinar is closed. And we thank our presenters. They've given us a lot of information and things to think about, and we've had some questions come in. So let's jump right in. Question 1 here. Does the field need this app in addition to CRM? Can they record calls in it?
Yes, thank you for the question. It's an often asked question. We do believe that just like your call adjustment app that has been there forever, it is better for the rep to have this specialized app that is really attuned to the specific decisions that reps make when they define who they go to and what they talk about. While CRM may be able to provide the same information, it is typically unlikely that it does it in this condensed and very specific manner. But we also believe that this app needs to be in a companion app to a CRM. So in the same way as you have this, Zoom add-on to Outlook, this is an add-on to your CRM system where once you planned your calls, the scheduled calls and emails and whatever else that you planned go into your CRM and can be executed from there. So it is very seamless flow to both plan and perform the actions.
Perfect. Thank you, Maria, for jumping on that question there for our audience. Second question here, what happens if reps don't agree with a suggestion?
If a recommendation or a suggestion isn't relevant or helpful for a particular sales representative, they can let the system know by clicking dismiss in the app and then selecting the reason they are dismissing the insight or suggestion to let the system know why they don't agree with it. Again, that feedback that they're providing ensures that the system continues to learn from the reps. Feedback so that suggestions and insights get better and better over time.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jan. Question 3 here coming out from our audience. Our reps are already using another field reporting app. Can these insights go there? Great question.
They certainly can. I mean, insights are insights, and then they can go to CRM app, they can go to the reporting app. However, a part of the dynamic targeting app is a planning function. So it's a balancing what of these actions need to happen when, and how much effort do you want to spend for different doctors. And then when you do spend effort against certain doctor, what else can be done at the low effort around them, right? So if you're already going to some part of town, what are the other important suggestions that you might need to be able to act on in that part of town? So that is all the piece of the functionality that the specialized dynamic targeting app brings together. The suggestions can certainly be somewhere else as well, or only somewhere else, but it probably wouldn't have as much adoption and action on that by the field force if it's not brought together in the very intuitive manner at the time when they're planning.
All right, thank you for answering that one for us. Next question here, are the insights real time?
The insights can be real time or they don't have to be. Typically, our clients adopt monthly, weekly, and sometimes daily data pipelines, what we call processing of all the insights. And some of the things, such as some omni-channel doctor-opened email, may be useful to know even the day off or the day after. But the majority of insights don't change all that often because your data only comes monthly or maybe weekly. So typically some mix of processing of the insights on the monthly and weekly schedule, with some insights maybe processed daily, is a good balance for the company to be able, for the reps to be respond to them at the pace that is the most optimal.
Perfect. Thank you for jumping on that question there, Maria. Next question here, are the types of insights customizable?
They certainly are, and there are number of customizations and personalizations that may be available throughout the program. One of the ways by which they're different from company to company is that based on the different data sources and maybe based on what's differently important for the brands, company configures some number of types of these insights, maybe 20, maybe 50, it depends on the maturity and the journey. And then on top of that, the reps have a choice to suppress some of them or look at some of them based on what's most important to them and what is most relevant and that they wouldn't otherwise know. So the reps can like or dislike, dismiss certain types of suggestions, and by doing that, the AI program, machine learning program, will stop proposing these insights to the reps if they're not useful to them. So both from company standpoint and from the rep standpoint, it is personalizable and highly flexible.
Thank you so much, Maria, again. Well, that is all the time we have today for questions. We would like to thank everyone for joining us. If we were not able to answer your question, please know that we do capture all submitted comments, and someone from the team will follow up in the coming days. Thank you for those who sent those questions in for today. As a reminder, the recording of today's webinar will be available via the same link you accessed for today's live presentation. We also encourage you to check out that resource list to download any materials that you may find useful. Thanks again to our presenters, Maria and Jen, and of course to you, our audience, for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.